both Dad and I are starting to think like, man, it'd be really nice to raise our own beef.
Yeah, and just have literally hundreds of pounds of meat available.
What are we missing? One of the very first things I called out when we moved here 5 years ago was that we need to do something about the hayloft if we ever have kids. We didn't have Henry at the time, or if kids come over, you know, our nephews and stuff, because it's just open. And if you have little toddlers running around the barn, there's a chance that one would kind of slip up there unawares and just be toddling around and then fall off the hayloft, which would not be good. So that was one of the first things I said. It's like, oh man, we need to build a fence up there. And so we've gotten to the point now where Henry has started to take quite the interest, our little 3-year-old has started to take quite the interest in climbing up these stairs. And sometimes we're off doing projects and he's out here with us and he'll sneak up and start to clamber up these stairs. So I realized we got to do something very soon. Eventually I still would like to get a door made or a fence made for the hayloft. But in addition to taking down the ladder, one thing I can do relatively quickly is put together a door for the stairs. Very simple door with one of my favorite materials to work with on the homestead, which is the humble cedar picket. They're cheap, they're versatile, they're easy to work with, and they're outdoor friendly because they're cedar. So I'm gonna see if I can't put together a quick little door that I can use to cover up this space. It doesn't need to be fancy. This is a barn after all. And pop that thing up here just to keep Henry from clambering up and we're not paying attention. Let's see what we can do. The stringer is getting in the way, so we're gonna need to cut that. But let's get an idea of how this looks. Nice. Let's give it a look.
Yeah.
Does it work?
That's what the doctor ordered.
Alrighty. Just those ones.
Yeah.
That'll work for now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is great.
Nice.
Just what the doctor ordered. It looks good. I'm gonna want to paint it probably.
Very functional.
Paint it or stain it. But that does what I need to do. We've kid-proofed the hayloft. So Dad and I both agreed that that door we put up was a handsome door. It looks really good.
Yes.
It'll keep the young man away from the hayloft for now, until he's of an age where he'll just know, like, hey, you could go up there.
Yeah.
But as Dad and I were building the door, Dad, you brought up an interesting comment, and it's about our front pasture.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So just driving down the road, I mean, there are so many places around here without a ton of acreage. You know, they have a few acres where they're raising cattle
For beef.
for beef. Yeah. So 2 or 3 or whatever, nothing huge. Of course, there are other places where they've got 80 or 90.
Mhm.
But yeah, around here, it's not uncommon to see just a local homestead like this with 2 or 3. And what would be required for us to do that? I mean, we don't have any background with that at all. So in terms of infrastructure, I think, you know, a simple barbed wire fence. We actually removed some because it was really kind of ratted out.
There's stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah, and you can see it's just falling apart. But I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I'm sure there are a lot of other elements, or maybe there aren't. I don't know. Maybe it's pretty simple with beef, you know, with cattle.
And that's kind of why we're bringing this up, because I believe that we do have some viewers that raise beeves, as they say, just 1 or 2 cows, not for breeding, not for milk, but just to raise them for a season and then get them processed and turned into a lot of meat. Again, you go down the road, and there are little houses that are smaller. They have smaller plots than we do, where they'll have 3 or 4 cows just walking around, which the assumption is that they're raising them for a season for meat and just fill up their freezers for a long time. So Dad and I were like, you know, I'm still doing pigs. I'm still getting the pig shelter set up. And that's a little bit more easy at first. At least I think it is. But in terms of raising cows, it seems like the infrastructure isn't that much. You need barbed wire fence. Does it need to be charged like it does with sheep or with pigs? We don't know.
Right. Do you need a shelter for when they're younger? I don't know.
We don't know that. Obviously, you know, when the weather's good and the grass is growing very nicely, they eat the grass. Okay, great. But how much hay do you need to feed them in the winter? We don't know that.
So a lot of just the 101 kind of basic questions.
The fact is that whoever owned this land years ago or even decades ago, they raised cows here. You can see the infrastructure for cows all around our property. There is old fencing, old fence posts, and barbed wire around most of it. There's about 2 acres here in the front. Does that sound about right, Dad?
I think you're pretty close.
Let's say 2 acres of pasture in the front. We got a couple acres of woods, and in the back, we got the back pastures, which are maybe, I don't know, 4 to 6 acres, which I don't think we'd want to deal with cows in the back pasture just yet, because you got to think about watering and predators. Okay, is 2 acres enough for 2 cows? We don't know that. So there's a lot we don't know. So it's something that both Dad and I are starting to think, like, man, it'd be really nice to raise our own beef.
Yeah. And just have literally hundreds of pounds of meat available.
What are we missing? To those of you that raise beef or know people that raise beef or have raised beef in the past, what's just like, explain to us like we're 5 years old. What are the very basic elements? Barbed wire fence, grass in the summer, hay in the winter, water.
Yeah.
How many
and just,
acres?
Just basic pros and cons as well. You know, there may be things we're not thinking about just in terms of maintenance or upkeep. You know, they can get sick and there's vet bills and stuff like I mean, so there's a pro con column probably that exists in raising them. So things like that. Again, we just don't have it.
We just don't know. If the pros outweigh the cons and we can just get a ton of really good meat. The reason it came up is because Dad and I were talking, and there's a lot of folks around here, obviously, that do that, but there's a lot of old folks, elderly people.
Yeah.
That raise, you have a friend that's in his 80s, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he was telling me just I don't know, a couple months ago, he said, yeah, this year I really had to scale back. I said, well, how many head do you have now? And he said something like 42 or 43. And I'm like, oh God, man, you're 84. I mean, come on. But he's okay with it. And, as we were talking about, I think, could be wrong, but I think as long as you have the infrastructure in place, and he probably at his age hires out when it comes time
Sure.
to bring out the hay, the straw, whatever. But so a lot of it was just kind of fire and forget. You just put them in place and
What are we missing? What are we not thinking about? If those of you that have that experience have some thoughts, we'd love to hear them. This isn't like writing the plan books. We're not going to shoot for this right away, but it's something
It's
we're
worth
thinking
considering.
that we're thinking like, hey, out front, how many cows can we fit on 2 acres that'll feed us for a long time?
What are you doing, Hundy?
Speaking of livestock, we've got all the wood we need for the pig pen. It's not right here. It's over by the mulch pile and down there, but we got all of it. We've got all the ash we'll need, enough to burn to create the ash. So this will be ready shortly. I'm going to wait till we actually get the piglets to put it all in there, I think. I don't know. I haven't decided because I need to decide what to do with my breast chickens. Am I going to keep them in with the piglets, or am I going to process them all before then? Or even move them somewhere else? I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do with them. I've seen people keep chickens with pigs. And if you've been to a farm and there's a pig pen, chickens will fly into the pig pen and walk around all the time. That's not a huge concern, but having them live with the pigs full time in a, I don't know, 30 by 20 foot, whatever this pen size is, in that contained of a space full time, I don't know. I need to make the call soon because I want to get this ready for piglets in the spring. And I also need to get the inside of the actual stall. Right now we're just storing junk in there. But you'll remember last year or earlier this year, I spent a good amount of time fixing this stall up. I put in new studs, I put in new sill plates. As junky as it looks right now, this stall is actually in really solid shape from all the work I did to renovate it. It's ready for piglets, but I need to clear this out and get a bed down in there as well with the ash and the logs and the mulch and the straw. That all needs to be put in there as well. So I've got some decisions to make here as to, basically, the biggest decision is what I do with these breast chickens, my meat birds. Whether I cull them all now, keep them in with the pigs, or move them somewhere else. That's a decision I need to make. And when I say cull, I should say process, because we'll eat them. They are meat birds for us after all. And speaking of processing, we will be processing some turkeys probably before Thanksgiving, which it's already November, guys. So maybe in 2 to 3 weeks, we'll set a date for processing these young turkeys that we'll have for Thanksgiving. I haven't decided yet on the exact date. We actually got some friends that live down the road. They've got their own homestead, and they probably have a bunch of roosters that they need to call. And we've got the plucker, so they may come over and we'll make a day of it. We'll have a processing party. I'll process some turkeys, they'll process some roosters, and fun times will be had by all. But I'm as much as I dislike processing turkeys, because I love them and they're so friendly, I do love their meat too. So we got to get some meat going for the turkeys. Business as usual here in the homestead, everybody. Little projects that add up to big projects. That's the name of the game in this world. Thanks for hanging out with us as we dealt with this week's little projects. And until we see you again next time, please remember, as always, slowly, slowly.